session, ratifying the chair's 11 standing committee appointments to the at-large committee. So if you were just take a moment, if you are a new member of the executive committee, if you just want to raise your hand for a moment so we can welcome to all of our new executive committee members. But with that, Mr. Chair, bright and early this morning, as we head into our final day of our summer meeting, I'm pleased to report that we do indeed have a quorum ready for business.
Thank you, Secretary Ray. We have a quorum. It is now my honor, as many of you know, it is customary for the mayor of the host city to welcome us for this meeting. Joining us today, we have the 48th mayor of Minneapolis, a great friend of mine, Jacob Fry. Jacob, thank you for being here. I'd like to invite Mr. Fry, our mayor, to the stage to offer a few words to the Democrats in the room. Some of you have never been to this great city until 3 days ago, of course. He's done an amazing job turning around this city. Please welcome my friend, Mayor Jacob Fry.
Well, good morning, fellow Democrats. Good morning, everybody. How's this? All right. Let's get rocking loud and early here in Minneapolis. We are so proud to have you in the land of Prince, in the city of lakes, the city that I did not grow up in, but I fell in love with when I was running the Twin Cities Marathon, and the day after I graduated, I moved my whole life out here. And I want to start just by saying a big thank you to your chair that you are beginning to get to know in Ken Martin. Give this guy a huge round of applause, because I'll tell you, the nation is getting to know Ken, and you all will find out what we know locally here in Minnesota, which one is that this guy works his ass off. We're talking like around the clock. We'll work tirelessly for democracy and standing up for those that don't have a voice. You will see him doing that work in the streets and on the doors, and yes, also in the conference rooms. And the results in Minnesota, certainly they speak for themselves, because, you know, statewide, guy had never lost an election, which is pretty impressive here in Minnesota. And obviously, cities around the country right now are dealing with a whole lot, whether it's LA or Baltimore or Chicago. You've got Donald Trump that is coming in with an intention to literally terrorize people. And it is more important now than ever that cities are working with states, that the Democratic Party is supporting mayors and Democratic governors around the country to make sure that we have the tools that we need to succeed, to keep people safe and push back on this kind of tyranny that we're seeing, which is terrifying. And if there's any question where Minneapolis stands, here's what I'll tell you. In Minneapolis, we don't refer to them as undocumented immigrants. They're just flat out our neighbors. We love them, we stand with them, and we will do everything possible to help them through this difficult time. And while I had you, I wanted to make sure that we livened up this, what I understand to be your last day here in Minneapolis, with some exciting talk about zoning reform, right? I wanted to talk to you about housing. Housing is a passion of mine. It is the reason why I ran for office to begin with. And whether you know or you don't know, I'm going to tell you, Minneapolis is getting the best results in the whole country in terms of housing. We have been able to keep rents down more than virtually any city in the entire country. We are producing 8.5 times the amount of deeply affordable housing since before I took office. And this is one of the biggest things, we are pushing back on some real intentional segregationist acts that have taken place in our city and cities around the country for generations. And you may not think that this is an area that is directly applicable to the DNC. I'll tell you, it is. It is, because so much of this pro-democracy work, so much around the work of racial justice, it takes place in cities. And there are some things that I find to be very important that we need to be tackling, not just here in Minneapolis, but nationwide. So about 100 years ago, we've got maps in the city that quite literally designate the north side as a slum for blacks and Jews. And then when you add to those maps intentional segregation, restrictive covenants that run with the land, separating out communities from some of their most vital assets by like a massive highway or a whole lot of heavy industrial, you get a scenario where you have what we have around the country, which is communities that are separated based on the color of their skin and the amount of money that they're able to make. And then what happened in Minneapolis and around the country is, well, the Civil Rights Act passed. And while we couldn't do some of these things explicitly, we started to do all the same things implicitly, but through a zoning code, setting it up so that unless you could own a really huge home on a really huge parcel, you couldn't live in huge swaths of the city. And that, the tales of those decisions, they continue to today. And so in Minneapolis, we pushed back on that. We were the first city in the country to get rid of exclusionary zoning, the first city in the country to get rid of single-family exclusive zoning, which, believe it or not, was really tough at the time. We're not saying single-family homes are outlawed. Many of you, I'm sure, live in them, and they're great. But in addition to having a single-family home, or in addition to having a huge mansion single-family home, in Minneapolis, you can have a duplex, a triplex. We can build affordable housing in middle and upper income areas where before you flat out couldn't. Now you can. So you can get a diversity of housing options and therefore a diversity of people in every neighborhood. Why is this so applicable nationwide? It matters because people need to be talking with each other. It matters because people from a variety of backgrounds need to be listening to each other. We need to find common humanity across races, ethnicities, and religions. We need the ability to sit across a kitchen table or a barbecue and be able to find a common humanity in our friends, in our neighborhood. And you can't do that if you don't have that diversity in the neighborhood itself. If you've got to drive 20 minutes away to find a diversity in a city that should be packed with it. And so I say this to you, one, to brag about it, because we're really damn proud about it, but also to say this is the kind of stuff that we could be doing nationwide. This is the kind of work where we can partner with mayors around the country to do right by the people that live in these democratically run cities. And we can show collectively that Democrat-run cities can work. You all are doing that to make it happen. We are beyond pumped to have you in the city of Minneapolis. Spend all your money while you're here, by the way. I've been going out later at night with a whole bunch of you guys, and at least based on the bar tab, you're definitely going in that direction. So proud to have you guys in Minneapolis. Keep up the phenomenal work. Thank you so much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mayor Fry. Thank you for your leadership. And good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
How are we doing today?
Good.
You know, it's a good morning, especially to wake up with that big win in Iowa last night. How about that? Congratulations to Senator-elect Catelin Drey, of course, on that huge win. Congratulations to the Iowa Democrats for breaking that Republican supermajority in the Hawkeye State. Look, this is now 40 key elections this year that we've won or overperformed in. I want you to think about that for a second, Democrats. There's wind at our back. We have overperformed in every single election that's been on the ballot since Donald Trump was inaugurated. Now, I know people are still hanging their head from the last election. I want to be really clear about this. President Obama said this a few weeks ago at an event I was at with him. Stop with the navel gazing. We are facing an authoritarian in the White House right now, a fascist regime in this country. Let's get off our asses and actually get in this fight. And everyone in this room is. But let me tell you what. You know who's not paying attention to all this navel gazing? The American voters. They're sending us a message. They're with us. They're standing with us throughout this country right now as we overperform in these elections. So let's just keep remembering. Let's keep our eyes on the prize. One of the things the mayor just said about my record, it's not remarkable. There's plenty of other parts of this country where we see great success. But I will tell you, one of the keys to my success over the years is that I drown out the noise. I stay focused on the goal. I keep the main thing, which is winning elections. That's what we have to do. And we're doing it. And we should be proud of it. And I'm going to keep this short because we have limited time in this meeting today. But I want to say, the other morning at our opening session, I asked a question. I said, how fortunate are we? How fortunate are all of us in this room that we get to remake the world daily? I appreciate that idea even more this morning, because right here in this executive committee is where our party discusses the business we need to remake the world. It's not necessarily flashy business. As Brent knows, there's nothing sexy about building bridges and roads, but it's so important, right? It's vitally important. Moves us forward. This work in this body helps steer our vision as a party. And this morning, as we look towards the future, that's what I want us to be focused on, the future. The future is what matters today. How we win, how our party continues to harden itself, to test itself, and to strengthen itself to be better. Ahead of this fall, ahead of the midterms, this moment right now is critical. So I want to thank you all for your commitment here this week. We had great conversations. We had tough conversations. But those tough conversations are what hardens us. Those tough conversations are what unifies us. Those tough conversations are what helps us be better. And you cannot imagine how grateful I am to serve alongside of all of you in this work. And look, we will be together again soon in December. And I'll mention more about that in the general session. But I know the days are long, the sleeps are short, but we do this business because we care about our country, our party, and most importantly, the people. So let's have a good day. Let's get to work. When we leave here today, remember our task in front of us. I know all of you, I'm preaching to the choir, but as I'm talking to folks on the live stream here today, the work is so important right now to continue. Use every single day we can to make the biggest difference we can for as many people as we can by building this infrastructure so we can win again, both in 25, I should say, 26, 28, and beyond. We've got work to do. That work has begun with all of you in this room. So let's have a good day. Thank you all, and let's get started. So with that, we're going to move to committee reports. We're going to begin with our newly appointed resolutions co-chairs, my good friend Ron Harris from Minnesota, and my great friend from the great state of Arizona, Yoli Bejarano. I am grateful to have their leadership as new chairs of the Resolutions Committee. Please welcome Ron Harris and Yoli Bejarano.
Well, good morning, Executive Committee. Thank you, Chair Martin, for the opportunity to present the report of the Resolutions Committee. We met yesterday on Thursday, August 25th, to consider the 40 resolutions that were sent to DNC members in the Secretary's 7-day mailing. Each of these resolutions were considered by the Resolutions Committee, and sponsors were recognized and heard. You hear me okay? All right. 17 message and 21 commemorative resolutions were overwhelmingly supported by the members and are recommended by the committee for approval by the DNC. Resolution number 3 was withdrawn, and resolution number 18 did not receive a favorable report. So we will present the report for consideration by the full body at the general session. On behalf of the Resolutions Committee and my co-chair, Bejarano, we want to express our appreciation to all the members who submitted resolutions and participated in the process. Madam Co-Chair, anything else to add to the brief report? All right, that'll do it. Thanks, Chairman.
Thank you, Chair Harris and Chair Bejarano, for your leadership. We look forward to continuing to work with you. There was a lot of important conversation there. We really appreciate how you steered that conversation, allowed people to have their voices heard, and we really appreciate your work there. Next, I'd like to welcome the Budget and Finance co-chairs, Chris Lowe and Doris Kraus-Mays, to provide the Budget and Finance report.
Yes, thank you, Chair Martin, for allowing me and my fellow co-chair to address the executive committee. I think this is the first time we've ever been able to do this, so thank you. Yesterday, we welcomed 5 new members to their first Budget and Finance Committee meeting, and they have already started asking thoughtful questions and making productive suggestions. DNC staff presented a financial review of our revenues, expenses, and cash on hand to the committee with the highest level of transparency we have seen during my time on this committee. We were also presented with a review of the DEI contracting strategy and our grassroots financing initiatives. Again, these are very fulsome reports. Thank you.
Thank you, Doris. And just to add to our report, we believe the DNC is in the best financial position ever at this time in a year following an election loss. We have no financial debt, we have adequate cash on hand, and we have very strong grassroots fundraising, which covers almost 85% of all funds raised year to date. This has enabled us to fund some early investments in state parties, as well as targeted investments in Virginia and New Jersey in other 2025 elections. We're also funding technology initiatives to improve the efficiency of the DNC. All of these are at a higher rate than I believe we've done in previous years, so we're funding earlier. As you know, the Chair and I and Doris and others have proposed amendments to the bylaws to expand and refocus the scope of the Budget and Finance Committee. So this will be the last Budget and Finance Committee report to this body. However, we will have a process for review and monitoring of the DNC's budget by this committee going forward. We've already begun to speak with staff on this process. We did so yesterday, and we're very hopeful we'll have a more detailed report on this in connection with the 2026 budget when I think the Executive Committee next meets in December. So thank you very much for your time, and we appreciate the opportunity to report.
Thank you, Chair Lowe and Chair Cross-Mays for the report. I do want to reflect on one thing on the fundraising since it was raised. We have raised $70 million so far this year, which is a record. And while our cash on hand seems to be low by comparison to the Republicans who are in power, I want you to think about this for a moment. Donald Trump has sold the government to the billionaires. He's given them everything they wanted. Is it no surprise that they're filling his coffers right now? There's what I look at in terms of our cash position is, do we have the money to meet our obligations? Yes. Do we have the money to stand up our organization? Yes. Do we have the money to actually win elections and invest record amounts of money in races throughout the country? And the question is yes. So I think as you look at our cash on hand, I want you to understand something. I have absolutely no concern where we're at. And what's fueling the $70 million that we've raised, which is a record, is grassroots donations. People giving $5, $10, $15, $20 a month. That is exactly how you build out organizations, particularly when you're fundraising. You see, the problem we've had in the past is when people rely too much on those big donors, and those big donors decide, for whatever reason, they don't want to give anymore. Now you're shit out of luck, right? The reality is the way we're building it is the healthy way. And that is also a sign of the energy that's out there, the grassroots energy that's out there. We're raising record amounts of money from people who are giving small dollar contributions every single month. So I want to thank our co-chairs of the Budget Committee. It's the last report of this named committee, but you will still be reporting out every single executive committee. Thank you, Chris and Doris. I appreciate it. Okay. Now we are going to hear from the co-chairs of the Rules and Bylaws Committee, Chair Jim Roosevelt and Chair Mignon Moore.
Hello, Executive Committee, and good morning, Mr. Chair. At yesterday's Rules and Bylaws Committee meeting, the committee discussed 9 proposed amendments, 8 from Chair Martin as part of his reforms package, and 1 from Vice Chair for Civic Engagement and Voter Participation, Raina Walters Morgan. Members received a copy of the Rules and Bylaws Committee from Secretary Ray late last night. As we will report in more detail at today's general session, 7 of the proposed amendments were approved unanimously by the committee to be recommended for adoption by the full DNC. 1 proposal was withdrawn in lieu of the committee instructing the Rules and Bylaws Committee to continue to include the provisions regarding automatic delegates voting on the first ballot in the call for 2028 convention, as it has for the last 2 cycles. Just to explain that. So rather than putting the prohibition on automatic delegates voting into the charter, we voted to continue having it in the call to the convention. And then 1 proposal was referred to our internal working group as part of our quadrennial review of the DNC charter and bylaws. So I want to thank the members in advance for what will be a busy next couple of years, the members of the Rules and Bylaws Committee, as we prepare for the 2028 presidential nominating process. Mignon?
Good morning, Mr. Chair and your officers. At our meeting, we also briefly discussed the upcoming business before the committee. As Jim mentioned, we will appoint a small, informal working group to take a look at the charter and bylaws to draft any recommendations for consideration and discussion by the committee. The Rules and Bylaws will meet again next month to adopt a resolution formalizing a process for states, and I know everybody is eager to do this, for states to submit applications to move into the early window in 2028. We will also begin drafting the 2028 call to the convention, the delegate selection rules, the regulations of the rules, and the bylaws committee. You will hear more about the formal process in the upcoming months, and I also want to join my co-chair in thanking all of our new members. We had very robust discussions in our meeting yesterday, and I'd like to thank them all for their participation. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, co-chairs Moore and Roosevelt, for your work. I was just pulled away. I just want to announce some news. I'm not trying to startle or shock any of you. It's shocking to me. There is an active shooter here in Minneapolis right now, an unknown amount of victims at a church and school. EMS has requested mass casualty responders. If any of you, doctors, nurses, otherwise responders, first responders, that could help. It seems to be a fairly significant shooting. So we're going to continue with our meeting, obviously, but I just wanted you to know this is the mayor, who you just heard from, alerted us to this as he was leaving. Our thoughts, of course, are with everyone in the community right now as they're dealing with this here in my home city of Minneapolis. So, okay. Before we move on, I would like to take a moment to thank our Credentials Committee co-chairs Ryan Ramirez and Hilda Solis for their hard work on the August 14th Credentials Committee meeting and all the work that they've done together. So, Hilda, I'm thrilled that you'll be joining us, of course, on this executive committee, and I'd also like to welcome a familiar face to many of us as the new co-chair of the Credentials Committee, Congresswoman Nikema Williams from Georgia. Welcome, Nikema. So, let's actually, we have enough time here, so what I would like to do at this point, if possible, is to have our Credentials Committee, is Ryan in the room, or Nikema, to give their report. Go ahead. No, that's fine if you just want to report out real briefly. Then we're going to go to officer reports.
Unscripted, unplanned.
Yeah.
In terms of the Credentials Committee, I mean, we met on the Alabama challenge associated with the Credentials Committee. We had struck kind of a middle ground in terms of proposing to permanently seat one and temporarily seat two of those members. When that came to the full vote at the full DNC, they decided not to accept the credentials report, and so none of them were seated, and that covers it.
Thank you so much, Ryan. And,
yes, sir.
And thank you to Nikema for chairing this committee as well. I appreciate it. With that, I would like to actually call on our officers to give a very quick report. All of our officers, with no exception, are working incredibly hard. They're traveling the country. They are raising money. They are headlining events, from small county events to big state party dinners to rural events to everything in between. They are just an amazing, amazing team of officers that are doing incredible work on behalf of our party. I couldn't have asked for you guys to elect a better, more qualified, more energetic group of officers to serve alongside with. And so I'm going to call on each of them individually, and we're going to start with Stuart Applebaum over there, who is one of our associate chairs. Stuart.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, everybody. And it's so good to see everyone here. I have to tell you that our time in Minnesota this week began with a press conference and rally at the state fair in support of government employees who are under attack by the Trump administration. And that is only appropriate for a way to begin what we're doing, because it's crucial that the Democratic Party and the labor movement support each other, because neither of us will survive without the other. The Democratic Party is the natural home for working people, and that also means that Democrats need to be speaking out in support of workers and their unions as Trump continues to attack us. Trump told working people when he ran that he cared about them. It was a lie. But unfortunately, too many workers believed him. And now we're seeing the results. And the main result is that Donald Trump is the biggest union buster in the history of this nation. And we're going to continue with all of you spreading that message, because as people understand that, we've seen what's happened to the government employees, where hundreds of thousands of people have lost their jobs, where families are in limbo. We've seen the anti-union appointments that have been made to the National Labor Relations Board. We've seen the cuts that are impacting working people. And working people have to understand that the way to stand up and to respond is by organizing, and organizing politically through the Democratic Party, because the most important form of resistance is voting, and voting Democratic. Thank you.
Thank you, Stuart. Next up is Congresswoman Joyce Beatty, one of our associate chairs.
First of all, let me just say good morning and thank you to our chair. It has certainly been an honor and a pleasure, and as we have heard throughout our time today and before, that it is about us being together, and it's been a great pleasure. Let me echo what Stuart said, and it was important to know that every one of our DNC elected and appointed members stood with you there, and I think that was very important. It's also important for me to share that we need to embrace everyone, all the groups, and to the young Dems specifically, and the Dems abroad who often don't get as much notice, let me say thank you. I was honored to be able to have done a fireside chat with Democrats abroad and to have been able to travel, as many of us have done, to a number of states, making sure that we get the message out so people can't say, what is the DNC doing? What is our message? And the only ask that I could say to each of us, let us dispel that. We know the energy and what we heard in probably one of the most amazing opening sessions from all of us, from the caucuses, from the elections, from the reports. And we need to let America know that Democrats are fighting for the everyday working people, that Democrats are going to turn this country around because it is us that protects our democracy and stands for justice and equity and equal rights. It is an honor to serve. Thank you.
Thank you, Congresswoman Beatty. Next up is Vice Chair Artie Blanco.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good morning, everybody. Buenos dias. You know, I want to congratulate everyone that has joined this committee. I want to also congratulate the chair who has had the foresight to bring in new voices of all different communities, young and seasoned, and those that are also really experienced in the work that they do in every day. Everyone has different passions in what we fight for. Right now, I am a first-generation Mexican American, and my community is under attack. And every day when I hear a new story, which I just heard this morning, that a coworker of mine in Columbia, in D.C., in her neighborhood at 5 in the morning, these these people that are just armed to the hilt, that are not even experienced law enforcement, have maybe had a week on the job because they are nothing but bounty hunters, looking for people working, doing the job in the neighborhoods of building homes, reinventing homes of first-time home buyers or families that are trying to do better in their homes. Just them themselves going and showing up to work at 5 in the morning to provide for their families and for their communities. We pay taxes. We contribute to this country. And every day there is a new story. Actually, there's more than one story. Probably every minute there's a new story of someone being taken down. This is the beginning. This is where we're at. They're continuing to come after labor unions, arresting labor union leaders as well. This morning there was a new report about Kilmar Abrego Garcia, who is now in the U.S., and they are trying to fight to get his amnesty process going again. They are just picking people up that are trying to do better in our community. And that's why we can't give up. And I know it feels overwhelming. It's overwhelming for me at times. And I feel that the best thing every day, what I do, is share new stories. We need to continue to share what is popping up in social media and having the conversations and showing up for people when we see it. When we see something, we say something and we show up. So with that, I'm going to continue to organize. I'm going to continue to travel this country. We have got to get people back on the map. We've got to tell them that Democrats care about people and about the future of this country. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Next up is Vice Chair Shasti Conrad.
Thank you, everybody. Good morning. I want to start by saying a big thank you. As your newest vice chair, I hope we are done with internal elections for a little bit. And I appreciate everyone taking our emails and calls and all of that. But I'm very honored to now be in this position and very grateful for the support that came out of this body, and particularly from my elders. I want to acknowledge Belle Leong Hong, who has been an amazing leader of our AAPI caucus. And could not have done this without her, and also Miss Virgie Rollins, who really came in to also support me so much. So thank you to you both and to everyone here. You know, it's been really important to me to get right in to the work and jump into it, and particularly make connections with our young folks. It was important to me that they didn't feel like they were losing representation. And so one of the very first trips that I did in July was to the Young Democrats of America convention in Philadelphia, and made wonderful connections there, and was able to demonstrate that we as the DNC were going to continue to show up and build those relationships. I also traveled to Memphis to going to speak at the Teamsters National Black Caucus dinner down in Memphis, and really am working to try to make sure that we make these connections with labor as well. And then have also just recently went to the Oregon Dems and walked with the Hawaii Dems in their parade for the 4th of July, and have been making the rounds and getting out there. As we leave today from this meeting, I am going to both Virginia and New Jersey to conduct AAPI town halls with our Asian American community to make sure that they are actively engaged for these gubernatorial races, and doing our best to make sure that we are turning out our vote. Our community is often the difference makers in these important races, and oftentimes is forgotten, and so it's very important to me that we are doing that engagement and bringing them in and showing them the Democrats are showing up for them as well. So thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Shasti. Next up, literally is the Energizer Bunny, because he's getting ready to go on a walk across Pennsylvania to walk for transit. Truly putting words into action is Vice Chair Malcolm Kenyatta, who's probably traveled more than any other officer around this country, lifting up our party and our values. Vice Chair Kenyatta.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman, and thank all of you. And it really has been an incredible time in this incredible city, in this incredible state. But I think the tragedy this morning that we're all just sitting with right now and processing reminds us of the fact that everything that we're doing, what my fellow officers just mentioned, whether it's the mass deportations or whether it's the reminding folks who's on the side of working people in this country, the work that we're doing is not a joke. This is serious stuff. And I know that all of us in our journals and talk to the future generation will be asked, what the hell did you do? And I am so proud to look around this table and know that all of us will be able to answer everything we could. Everything we could. And so that's why, to the chairman's point, I'm taking his example. He's already been to 30 states. I'm trying to catch up. And so just thank you for what each of you are doing, for your commitment to this party, and for recognizing that we're going to decide what the next chapter of the Democratic Party is. And if you look at these elections that are happening across the country and the victories that we're having, Democrats aren't sitting back. Folks aren't, twiddling their thumbs. They're out there running for office. And as we saw with Senator-elect Drey in Iowa, they are winning seats that nobody said Democrats could win. That nobody said Democrats could win. And I know the press will treat this like a footnote, but I will tell you, if there was a Democratic president and a Republican came and flipped a seat that a Democrat had won just months ago by 11 points and flipped it by 22 points, it would be the only thing on TV. So I hope that if press is here, write that damn story about what Democrats are doing, about the victories that we're having. And we're having them not just because of the work in this room. We're having them because people are not going to let this democracy die on our watch. And I'm going to keep saying it. We are not giving over this country to some Timu dictator with swollen ankles who thinks that he's going to be a king. Folks are not going to have it. They're not going to allow it. And I'm damn proud to be a part of the party that is standing in the way of somebody who wants to rip apart what this country is about. And I'm so damn proud to do it with this team and with the leadership of our chair. And I just want to say our chair gets a lot of shit, but he's an incredible leader, and I'm proud to serve with him. Thank you.
Thank you, Malcolm. Next up is the ASDC President and Vice Chair Jane Klibb.
Thank you, Chair Martin. The ASDC has been very busy over the past couple of months. We have been to 56 out of the 57 state parties doing our SWOT analysis in conjunction with Chair Martin's Office of Innovation. We've conducted over 1,500 interviews with local folks in the states, figuring out what folks on the ground think their strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats are of their state party. They will then be given a report written by the ASDC and DNC, and then they'll be given a strategic planning grant to write a 4-year, not 1 year, not 6 months, but a 4-year strategic plan. Those will all be given, of course, to the DNC as they conduct their 10-year strategic planning process. We have an exciting announcement to do later today at the ASDC meeting, so I won't do it here, but it's in conjunction with Act Blue and a good investment into our state party infrastructure. And then we're just, continuing to innovate at state parties. We're doing projects like listening posts and making sure that our state parties are doing programming like partisan voter registration, voter guides, precinct and block captains. So we are doing the work to elect Democrats at the state and local level, and we have these victories that we can brag about because of strong state parties. Thank you.
Thank you, Jane. Our next up is our National Finance Chair, Chris Corge.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And as a member of the seasoned community, I am very proud to give this report. There's one word that describes what's going on from a fundraising point of view. It's called double, because we are actually doubling what we did in 2017. And yes, major donors are not where we would probably all love to be, which is back where we were during, the last presidential election. But they also are doing better than 2017. And there's really, being just candid about it, there's one reason why we are doing that well. And I promise you, when we win Virginia, New Jersey governor's races, you are going to see a total turnaround in attitude. Yes, major donors are tired. They gave more, like double the amount they've ever given, but they will be back with a vengeance, and it's because of our chair. It wasn't a joke when the mayor says the hardest working guy. I have never, and I've been around since 91, okay? I have never seen a chair work as hard as he does. 7 days a week. He's laying the foundation by personally meeting. They all know me already. But he is going and spending the time city to city, meeting and talking to them, and that will pay off in multiples you have no idea. So, Mr. Chairman, thank you for your hard work. And I want to thank all of you. And I just have one ask, and I always do this. I'm going on my 7th year here. I have one ask. Every person in this room and every member of the DNC, I don't care how much it is. I mean, I do care, but as much as possible, but everyone needs to contribute. It makes a difference when I can tell the donors, major donors, that every member of the DNC, all 428, if it's still the number, are contributing. So I ask you all, not only here, but go back to your states, and when we get into the big room, ask everyone to contribute. It really makes a difference, and it's a statement about what we are doing. Thank you all.
Thank you, Chris. Next up is our treasurer, Virginia McGregor, from the great state of Pennsylvania.
Yes, it is a great state. So like Chris Corge, I love talking about money as your DNC treasurer. But more than talking about money, I love to talk about winning. And every week I meet with our new CFO, Mark McLaughlin, who has been a great addition to the team, the senior team at the DNC. And he, along with his staff, which is now fully occupied with 9 employees on the CFO staff, we are ready to make sure that we are the good stewards of the money that comes into the DNC so that we are able to get it out there and spent in the field as our chair and his team decide. So I'm really excited about the future. Our finances are strong, and I look forward to keeping that going. Thank you.
Thank you, Virginia. Next up, of course, is our Secretary, Jason Ray. Yeah.
I don't have much to add this morning. I'm a little exhausted from joining my team. We were setting up the general session until about 12:30 last night, and they were up at it first thing this morning again. But since we met in Little Rock as an executive committee, I think the office has, I think we've conducted 19 virtual election meetings, and then with this meeting getting ready for 21 different election meetings. So hopefully, as Shasti said, we're done with elections for a little bit as a body, but really been working to just continue to build and support our DNC members. We have so many great new members who have joined us, as well as getting to travel the country and get to support Democrats and help win up and down the ballot. But that's all I've got this morning, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Last but not least, as you can see, we're going in alphabetical order. So is our Vice Chair for Civic Engagement and Voter Protection, Raina Walters-Morgan.
Good morning. I have to start by saying that I am a woman of faith, and I really am praying for anyone impacted by the tragedies today. Words matter, actions matter, and I think it's a reminder that in tough times we all have to stand together. I, like many of the officers, have been traveling this country, and I'm so proud to be here and be your Civic Engagement and Voter Participation Vice Chair. What I can tell you is that although some people might say Democrats are not doing the work, I can tell you that they are. There are people who are organizing, who are training, who are doing the work in their communities and making a difference, having those conversations with their neighbors who are lied to by this administration, and stepping up to support those in need in their communities. I have seen so many profiles in courage, and they have been through acts of resistance. And the acts of resistance that we have seen in this Democratic Party have been significant. To that end, we have to say thank you to the Democrats in Texas. Because the Democrats in Texas stood up in a way for our democracy that came at a personal cost to them. For those who don't know, the last time they did a walkout several years ago, they had a significant impact. And the Republicans changed the rules so that this time when they walked out, it was a $500 fine per day that could not be paid from campaign accounts. These people have families, they're caregivers. So thank you to the Texas Democrats who took that personal cost on to help our democracy. And we also have to say thank you to California. Yes, on Prop 50. Because we are living in unprecedented times. And as everyone has said, we have to fight fire with fire. And California Democrats have stepped up to the plate to make sure that we are playing on the same level field. So thank you to the Democrats in California. And as I leave, because I know we only had a few short remarks today, I have to say that I'm very proud that the DNC has a new voter protection director. Her name is Hurley Rosemond. Some of you may have worked with her. Yes, she deserves some applause. She is incredibly talented. She has been doing this work in this space, and she will continue the strong commitment that this organization has to supporting state parties, to supporting Democrats, to supporting everyone to make sure that every eligible voter can cast a ballot that counts. So thank you for the time today. Thank you for the work that you do. You all know that I like to leave with a call to action. And so my calls to action to you are to, one, take care of yourself, because we are living in really hard times, and sometimes it's hard to get up every day and hear people talk about you and hear people do things that are not becoming of them. But you get up every day and you put your armor on and you do this work. So thank you for doing that. Take care of yourself. But also make time for Virginia and New Jersey. Make time for Virginia and New Jersey. The governors are on the front lines, and we know that we need them in place to make sure that they are holding these administrations accountable. So there are going to be many opportunities to volunteer, and we will make sure that you get that information before you leave today. Thank you.
Thank you to our officers. Before we bring up Roger for some brief remarks, I just want to say that this executive committee will have more time at a future meeting and more thoughtful conversation about where this party goes, what our direction is, and our plans. But I do want to echo something that Raina just mentioned. We have big elections bearing down on us in just a few short months, both in Virginia, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, of course, with those 3 Supreme Court races, and over 100,000 local elections on the ballot throughout the country this year. We have to do our part. In whatever states you're in, please plug into those elections. Please plug into the work that we're doing in Virginia and New Jersey. We will send out opportunities for all of you to participate wherever you're at, or if you want to join me or any of the other officers on the road as we make our way into Virginia, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and states in between. We need all of us to roll up our sleeves in the coming months to make sure we're victorious in 2025. And while we have wind at our backs for sure, no one should take that as a given that we're going to win. We have to actually do the work. There are real opportunities for us, for sure. Opportunities for us to expand our coalition, to bring in people who left our party, bring them back into the conversation. And I do believe we will win. But we have to do the work. And if we do the work, and if is the operative word, I believe we'll win in 25 and 26. And so someone who's leading our charge, of course, and is the quarterback of our team is our executive director, Roger Lau. Please welcome our executive director, Roger Lau.
Thank you, Chairman. Can you guys hear me okay? Great. We actually have a broader presentation. We're out of time, so we'll have to revisit some other time. For the new members, looking forward to getting introduced myself and getting to know you guys. For the long-serving members, thank you for your service. Thank you for friendship, partnership. Let me just start by saying, Ken and I have known each other on and off since 2004. Ken got a little bit started before I did, but he and I both worked together in the Kerry campaign. Since then, we stayed in touch. I wound up working for John Kerry for 14 years. Ken obviously wound up doing all sorts of amazing things, winning elections over and over again, Minnesota. I later served as, I worked for Senator Warren for 10 years as a re-election campaign manager in 2018, and also the presidential campaign. I was lucky enough to serve as her campaign manager. And through those years, Ken and I just got to know each other. We got to know each other's values. We got to know each other's backgrounds. And what we shared, we didn't have the exact same story, but both of us understood what it meant to be a kid growing up struggling, right? We can get into those stories later on when we have more time. But the other thing that we shared was the fact that we wanted to fight for kids like us and families like ours. And it wasn't just the what and the why, but also the how, right? This idea that the best way that he and I know how to fight for families like ours and kids like us is to organize, win elections, and get Democrats elected. I'll be honest, after working for Senator Warren, I worked at the DNC with folks like Raina for 4 years under the Jamie Harrison. And obviously we did a lot of work with many of you all. And by the end of it, I was exhausted. Just like a lot of Democrats, I came out of this feeling like, I don't know if I have all the answers in this moment. This is really hard. Ken, obviously ran, along with all these officers here, a courageous campaign after the demoralized election, and they injected positivity and optimism and energy into, I think our party. At the end of it, I was ready to sort of pack my bags and just take some time and think. Ken approached me and asked me to serve as executive director, and I was blown away. I mean, obviously, I knew that he and I had a partnership. We had shared values, but man, I was tired. I was just really exhausted. But as I heard him talk over and over again through the campaign with our staff about this idea of building the win, right? Building the last, not just for 2025 and important elections like New Jersey and Virginia, but 2026 in the midterms, but talking about a 10-year plan, right? Something that's well beyond his term as chairman to help win elections after redistricting, after lines change. These are the things that we're seeing happening now in Texas and California and all around the country. Ken was talking about. That got me really excited. That's when I started thinking, maybe I can do this. I don't know if I have all the ideas. Ken will be the first of all to say he doesn't have a lot of other ideas, but he's bold, he's ambitious, he's got a vision, he's got a great team of officers around him, and you all collectively in our DNC membership, we all have ideas, and Ken's the one to listen to him to make that happen. So I was going to run through all the great things that we've been doing, things that we're going to do. You all have heard about the town halls and, you know, the incredible record-breaking fundraising and the fights and all the work we've been doing on redistricting, different ways that we're trying to communicate in this fragmented media environment, our tech investments, data investments, all these things, and most importantly, winning, right? And, you know, Ken talked about, you know, winning or overperforming in 40 key races all around the country, pretty much all the key races. That's a huge deal. We have been winning. I'll be honest, looking back at this the last 6 months and change, it hasn't been tough. It has been walking uphill in the rain and the wind while people are spitting on you along the way, right? And it's hard work. And, you know, people talk about Ken's, you know, fortitude, his work ethic. It's not just that he works hard. It's not just that he's literally, and this is not metaphor, it's not just that he's literally the first person walking in the office every day and the last person walking out. It's because he, like many of you, has persevered through doing this work under just extraordinarily difficult circumstances and under duress and attack. Not just from Fox News, we can deal with that, but the infighting has been tough, right? Unfortunately, that's what's been covered, but again, everyone talked about all the exciting and cool things that we've been doing in the last 6 months. Let me just tell you one last thing before we go. There are things that the DNC does that only the DNC can do. And when I say this, these things that the DNC does and only they can do are not easy things. They're not sexy things, but they're not easy, right? Those of you who've been around, the data swap agreement that enables a national voter file, that makes sure every single Democratic campaign, every state party, every candidate has access to the best data we could possibly have. For those who've been around, you know those conversations have been fraught. You know that they've been challenging. You know that it's been polarizing. And many times those conversations have spilled out in the media in the ugliest way, tearing our party apart, right? The SPP agreement, right? Our funding formula, you know, the agreement that we have with state parties to make sure state parties have resources they need in exchange for creation of that national voter file. Any state party chair here remembers how fraught that was. Maybe there's some reporters here who have covered it over the years, right? And wanted to write about it. We got that done, right? No news, no drama, right? We had a van agreement. You know, we're all talking about how we build tech for the future. It's a big contentious conversation, not just with, you know, tools and van and everything else, but we're thinking about how to do this better. You know, and we got that contract done 2 weeks ago. And this one I'm the most proud of personally. The DNC has always believed that our most important asset and resource are our staff and our volunteers. We are proud to be a union organized DNC staff. Ken, when he came in, said, I want to be bold, I want to be ambitious, just like we've done for state parties, just like we've done for investment. I want to invest in our staff. He wanted a 4-year contract. We've never done that before. He wanted to make sure we paid people not more than a fair living wage, more than we've ever done before, making sure that people have health care, benefits, severance pay, things that we've not had in our CBA. And guess what? In 3 months, we got a 4-year historic deal done, right? That contract signed. The staff contract is secure until after the presidential campaign. So I say these things, these are not things that people outside understand, right? But you all who do this work understand it. You all understand how hard this is, but also how important this is. And for those who've been around, all these things have played out in Politico. You know, data wars, right? The van agreement is gossip, right? CBA, you wind up in Dear White staffers, right? You know, protests. This could only have been done as well, as competently, as quietly, as calmly, because of Ken Martin's leadership. So when we think about just how hard it's been the last 6 years and how it's not just the press releases that we send, it's the things that you don't see. These are the things that the DNC does that only the DNC can do, and we've done it well. So, Chairman, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for keeping the ship steady. But thank you just for being strong for all of us. You're the tip of the spear. I know it's not easy being out there, but you're an inspiration.
Thanks, Roger. We got a few minutes for some questions here. I do want to just echo what Roger just said to all of you. First, I'm grateful. I was very nervous that he was going to say no when I approached him as well, and mainly because I know how tired folks were after this last election and people needed a break, and we've been going nonstop. And I do want to say again, building this party and the infrastructure of this party, a lot of this stuff behind the scenes is not sexy, but it's so important, right? And I'm glad that he reflected on some of our major accomplishments this year already. We got a lot of work to do. Don't get me wrong. We're not patting ourselves on the back. We're not saying everything's great, We know the work in front of us, the hill in front of us is steep. We know we have to, most important task in front of us is not just winning elections, but rebuilding trust. Rebuilding trust with so many people in this country right now who've lost faith in the Democratic Party, and that's what we're doing. And so I know there's a few questions. We don't have a lot of time, maybe 5 minutes at most, so I'm going to call, first off, start, if you have a question, raise, we only have a few minutes. I'm going to start with my friend from Florida, Alan Clendenin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Not a question, but an acknowledgement. One of our members that is not here today is Representative Sinfronia Thompson from the great state of Texas. She serves in the state house. She is obviously trapped in Texas, doing the business of the state. And of course, she, as our Vice Chair Reyna acknowledged the fine, she's facing a $9,000 fine for standing up for democracy and this Democratic Party. And I wanted to acknowledge she's one of our executive committee members from the Southern Caucus. She was reelected, even though she was not here. So we reelected her to the executive board, and I look forward to seeing her at the next DNC meeting.
Thank you, Alan. Next up is my friend from San Francisco, Christine Pelosi.
Real quick, field. I'm just going to say something that people aren't necessarily going to like, but that seems to be my role these days. Last year, consultants lit $1 billion on fire and pocketed another $750 million that we can track. I didn't see enough paid field. I didn't see enough black media. I didn't see enough rural radio. I didn't see enough ethnic media. And we are determined. I've told the governor. I've told my beloved mother, Nancy Pelosi. I've told anyone within the sound of my voice that we're not doing that again. And so when people talk about what we're doing, first of all, every call is a persuasion call. Second of all, if you don't have paid field, we will lose in California, not to mention New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Virginia, et cetera. So please, 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 let's all remember the reason why people are still sitting on some of their money is because they want to see it in the field. They want to see it where they live. And if we are paying media consultants and we are not paying phone bankers and door walkers, we will lose. So let's invest in field and let's win.
Thank you, Christine. Sure, we really have to get going, so.
We do have to go, so we have time for one more, but let me just say, you don't have to convince me. I'm an organizer. So the last person I'm going to call on is a great friend of mine from Wisconsin, the mayor of Glendale, Mayor Brian Kennedy.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm tech challenged apparently. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to acknowledge the incredible investment that was made this year in local organizing. I'm the president of Democratic Municipal Officials. This summer we held our first ever candidate camp. We had 545 people register from across the country to attend our candidate camp. And particularly important were states like Kentucky and Tennessee. Those two combined were about 15% of the people that registered. So we are making deep inroads into red states. I want to thank the DNC training department that helped us put on that all-day virtual candidate camp. It was a fantastic investment in local infrastructure and how we win local campaigns, and certainly an investment in our party. I just wanted to thank the chair and the DNC training department for that work.
Thank you so much, Mayor. And with that, again, we'll have more time at our December meeting.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, if you just indulge me for 1 second.
Governor Walters, we were late. I'm sorry.
6 years in, and we continue to not be provided an opportunity to have any kind of working discussions in this executive.
We will have, I mentioned a moment ago, Governor Walters, we will have conversations on that, and I'm happy to talk to you in a moment, okay? With that, we are adjourned. Thank you so much. Take care.
Yeah.